Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to a bonus episode of Fanatically Speaking. This is Kent, and I had to get on here to follow up. One is just an unbelievable game, and then the other, I don't think I could be fair as a Duke fan if I didn't do an episode about Duke losing after doing the episode on Hubert Davis getting fired and the comparison to John Shire, because, I mean, now it brings up a whole nother conversation. So, again, no excuses, as I mentioned in the episode, the previous episode, no excuses. Injuries, all the things that could be said about this Duke team, no excuses. Duke lost to UConn in dramatic fashion, in kind of catastrophic fashion, right? Another blown lead, another tournament loss, 2 years in a row where, you know, you're a favorite or you're one of the contenders. You're having such a good season, maybe national title hopes, and you just give it away or blow it away, a lead. And it happened again to the University of Connecticut. Obviously, no slouch of a team. Dan Hurley and that team, you know, two-time champions. They've been on a roll of late. So, and one of the top programs in the country. So, again, no shame in losing to a Connecticut. But in the way they did, then it was like I had to get on here, talk about it, do this quick bonus episode. So, in this game, at the end, Duke had the game won. It was just keep the ball, dribble around, get fouled, pass to the open person. And they did not do that. I don't know the last time I've seen or ever seen a game like this at the end. Again, it was an amazing game, and credit to Connecticut. You knew they weren't just going to roll over. You knew they weren't just going to give up. That's not how they do. But in this game, you know, a couple things that I saw, and I noticed this game and the previous game against St. John's, was pressure was an issue for this Duke team. Not only full court pressure, but then right at mid-court, right as they're setting up plays, they're setting these screens, and the pressure is, I mean, it's almost like the defense is attached to the players. Now, again, I said no excuses, but I mean, I could say they let a lot of physicality go in that St. John's game, right? There was a lot of hugging and grabbing, fighting through screens for the defense and holding on to guys. I even saw yesterday, you know, I'm pretty sure Isaiah Evans took an elbow. But again, that's a part of the game. That's, you know, anything can be dissected with fouls and the physicality they allow, don't allow, when they call a foul, things like that. It didn't cost them the game. What I'm saying is that pressure was an issue for Duke. It was an issue against St. John's, and it was an issue against Connecticut too. And I think that helped UConn get back in this game and ultimately win the game. And definitely in the last possession, the pressure, you know, was definitely on them. They were, you know, after the free throw was made, 10 seconds left, they get the ball inbound. They're acting like they're losing, that they have to get it up court, that they got to get it past half court, they got to get it down, you know. They're in this rush of getting the ball down court, and you're up by 2. You shouldn't be in a rush. There's no chance for a 10-second violation due to the clock, and you're winning. So what exactly are you doing? Like, they should know by now how to, you know, react or play in a game of this situation, in a tight game. And they just did not execute there. And again, they had a 15-point lead at halftime? I know they led at one point by 19. It looked like it was going to be a blowout. It looked like it was a wrap. And then ultimately it was not. 15 at halftime. And that is 2 years in a row of blowing a double-digit lead. Last year against Houston, they were up by double digits with about 8 minutes left and ended up losing. Today, this kind of the same, up by double digits. It was a little bit lesser time left in the game, but was at 15 at halftime, which puts them in their own category now. And this is something that all the Duke haters can bring up, is that now the only number one seed in tournament history to ever lose after winning at halftime, leading at halftime by 15 or more points. It is now an overall record, 134-1. I remember when they showed the graphic yesterday during the game, and I'm like, oh, well, thanks for jinxing Duke. Now, did I, in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, but they're not going to lose, right? I mean, they got this game. Ultimately, they're going to win, but they did not. So that puts them in rare category. And I think when Duke is in, they have these stats, like that, or losing in the tournament to a Lehigh, a Mercer, they always get, a little more flack from everybody. Duke is the team you love to hate. Everyone loves to hate Duke, and they want to bring up their failures. They can always write, again, like I mentioned, they want to mention Coach K lost his last home game to Carolina. Coach K got his last game eliminated in the Final Four by Carolina. Great. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Like that's how you know you're good. I mean, I put Carolina in that category, the Yankees, the Cowboys, the Lakers, and I know others put Duke in that category of the Yankees, the Cowboys, and the Lakers. Teams you love to hate, those historically good teams. And Duke's always got it, for whatever reason. There's many reasons throughout history of why everyone hates Duke. And this is just another reason that they can rub it in Duke fans' faces. So what exactly happened in this game? Well, Dan Hurley coached his tail off, as he always does. He is very animated. He is back and forth. If you watch that game, he's super, super mad when they're losing. He's mad at the refs. He's complaining about the calls. And then as they get closer, then he's chit-chatting with the refs. Then he's laughing with the refs. And he's being all, cuddly with them. He coached his tail off. He works the refs, which that's a part of being a coach. I mean, that's a part of being a good coach. And then he gets the most out of his players. I mean, again, I said it before, love him or hate him, the man can coach. He's got 2 titles. He's got UConn rolling. They're back in the Final Four. Even when others are doubting them and doubting this team this season, again, they didn't give up. And if you thought they were going to give up in this game, then you had another thing coming. Like they weren't, like I told you, they weren't going to lay down. They weren't going to stop. He had them believing, and they played for him. And ultimately, also though, what happened in this game were some costly turnovers. Unfortunately, by Caden Boozer, he had the one. I don't know, remember when it was, but I knew that the pass. I mean, it was not even open. And again, this is where they struggled with pressure up top, not being able to get that pass off and waiting, and guys couldn't get separation. And again, he passed it literally right to UConn, which ended up in a free, fast break dunk. And then, of course, the turnover at the end. We get that. That was the one in particular turnover. And then what else, though? Like, what else can be blamed? What's the blame game in this? Is it coaching? Is it John Shire? Maybe. 2 years in a row, blowing a double-digit lead in the tournament. Could be. Was it Cam Boozer fouling with 10 seconds left, stopping the clock, giving UConn the free throws? Now, it was 1 out of 2, right? You're up by 3. So you really could have given them, the 2. But then you force, and it goes into all kinds of situations. But at the same time, you really just don't want to give up a 3 there. But the foul, of course, stops the clock, and that is that's one of those, basketball sins that you don't want to do when you're winning. You want the clock to keep running, even if it's for a few more seconds, even if it gives up a 2, you're still up by 1, get the ball in. Now they've got a foul. a little bit different. Maybe Duke would have done the right thing. Maybe. I don't know. They didn't do the right thing up by 2, and all you had to do was hold the ball. So maybe, yeah. Not so confident they would have done the right thing up by 1 if UConn would have just got the layup, if Boozer would have just let them go by and score. Obviously, you talked about Caden Boozer's turnover. You know, he tried to throw it over 2 guys rushing for some reason with no chance of a violation 10 seconds. And if he just looked a little to his left, he had a more open pass to Isaiah Evans. But he didn't see it. You know, a lot's going on. But again, not sure why they were rushing because, again, you're winning. Why are you rushing? It's the age-old, complaint when teams are winning and they're rushing shots or rushing the ball up court. It's like, hey, you're winning. Like, you're in control. Duke acted like they were not in control, that they were trying to get a shot off to win the game but they were winning. They didn't need, they were, again, so. And then we could blame Isaiah Evans as they get back on defense in that quick amount of time, it was like 5 seconds they got it up quick. They got that ball. And I mean, that time did not tick off quick enough. And I just had that feeling when they stole it. I maybe have said some words because I kind of knew this isn't good. This is momentum shift. This is, hey, we just got the ball. We're going to roll down. And you've seen it in March Madness, the unbelievable shots. But Isaiah Evans against Braylon Mullins, who hit the game-winning 3, maybe contest the shot. Maybe put a hand up. These are things that are not now, I know you don't want to foul him, but a hand up, straight up, make him shoot over you, something. He literally just watched him shoot the 3. So there's a lot of fingers to point at everyone. And it normally is when you lose a game like this, when you had it in control, even UConn making the push. Boozer hit the shot. You're up by 3. I would say, analytics would say you're going to win this game. UConn burned a lot of clock there on that last possession. And again, it would then at 10 seconds, then, the foul. And I'm like, it just so many things went wrong. Credit to Connecticut, credit to Hurley, credit to that team. They just kept pushing. They won that game. They fought hard, and it was an unbelievable game by 2 powerhouses. I will say that. No surprise it would have been no surprise either one of these teams win the title in the Final Four, all these things. It just now it's going to be UConn. But also with all this, and to backtrack again to my episode about Carolina firing Hubert Davis, not getting results, not doing certain things at Carolina. And I was talking about how Shire's been really, really good and better than Hubert Davis. But it has to be talked about now. 2 years in a row, blowing double-digit leads in the tournament. Is Jon Scheyer on the hot seat? Watch. I'm not ready to say that, but you could say that. I mean, but others could. It could be a conversation to be had. You have to question. I think you have to question his coaching in big games, in tight games, in close games. Now, we know this wasn't the first time they blew a lead this year, right? One of their losses was to Texas Tech, where they blew a lead. They lost a close game at North Carolina and a last-second shot. So you can say a successful year, only 3 losses. You blew 1 lead to Texas Tech. Say that's the one anomaly. And then a Carolina rival at Carolina. Close game. Things could have went your way, and you give up the game-winning shot. So there again, twice, 2 out of your 3 losses, you give up the game-winning shot. Your buzzer beater got you twice. But Duke's a successful season, but again, blowing large leads in the tournament has been an issue for Scheyer the last 2 seasons when I think everyone thought the teams could be the national champion. I mean, you're rolling in with Cooper Flagg, with Concanipple. And then you follow that with the Boozers and this squad. You can't keep blowing leads with top talent and top players. Again, he can recruit his tail off. But let's see why, though. Just this year alone, right? We know last year happened. Now, what about this season, though? In the tournament, injuries aside, they rolled into the first round and said, look, we can win this without Gangba and Foster. They're injured. Let's give them another week. We're the 1 seed. We're playing a 16 seed Siena. Shire even admitted that he got out-coached by Jerry McNamara and Siena in the first round. And they squeezed out that win. There were times, though, it looked like upset alert. Then they got past TCU, closer than most would imagine. And then, of course, blowing the lead, They got past St. John's. That was a close game. So here I am knocking them. That was a close game. They pulled it out. But I think there's more evidence on losing big games in the bigger moments like the Final Four or Elite Eight. Just like Carolina, though, just like they just got rid of Hubert Davis, there are standards. You have to perform at these schools in basketball. Now, Duke has been in the running, so obviously better than Carolina has been of recent years. But just like Carolina, Dean Smith and Roy Williams are not walking through that door. They had Hubert Davis there. He's out. Who's going to be in? That's the question going around. And at Duke, for Shire, he's the successor. Coach K isn't walking through that door to coach again. You're the guy. You're the man. I like Shire. And I'm not calling for his job. I'm just saying that this makes it a conversation because, you're always going to be dissected and it's going to be under the microscope when you lose a game in the tournament and how you lose it. And I think blowing double-digit leads is not the way to lose games. You can have a back-and-forth game and lose, but just like the game Houston last year, blowing it, turnovers, bad play, at the end, the same here. Again, you have the lead. All you have to do is hold the ball. But yeah, these programs like a Carolina, like a Duke, again, now that you're the guy, now that you're in the spot, you got to perform. And if there is a trend of this in the tournament for Shire and Duke, they will do like Carolina and they will look and they will say, okay, is he the right guy for the job? Because you have to not just win ACC championships or beat Carolina or have great seasons. You have to perform in the tournament. And it's very early in his coaching career, 4 years in, but he has to perform and you have to not lose in certain ways and have certain stats attached to you. Just like Hubert Davis at Carolina, John Shire will be going into his 5th season. He's going to have to do really, really well next year. They lose Malik Brown. They lose Cam Boozer. Everyone else, in my opinion, should stay in college. And then they have a nice recruiting class coming in. But he's got to perform. Let's see what he does next year. Can't blow leads. If you're one of the top teams, can't blow leads. And hopefully he will turn it around. Hopefully Duke will turn it around. This was a tough one. It was heartbreaking. It will stick for a while until they win that next national championship. Until next time, this is Fanatically Speaking, and this is Kent. And you can listen to the show on all podcast outlets and follow it on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I even listen on YouTube. Yep, tap that app. And for this little bonus episode about Duke losing, I am out.